How's it going, everybody? I'm here today with Jonah, who is a $1 million a month Amazon seller. Super excited to finally chat with you for the YouTube channel here. Want to break down your Amazon journey. Share a ton of value with guys who are trying to get started no matter where they're at on Amazon. But if you just kind of want to briefly introduce yourself, man, let us know how you got into Amazon, kind of the crazy world of selling on Amazon. We'll just kind of roll from there. Yeah.
Thanks for having me too. Super excited. And so I've been selling on Amazon since 2011, and it was always just a little side hustle for me. Used books, used iPhones, on and off for a couple of years. And then I went full-time with wholesale in 2019 and have been full-time wholesale seller since.
Okay, cool. So you started taking things seriously 2019, and you're already $1 million a month like 5 years later, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
so
awesome.
I was able to do it a little bit differently. So I partnered directly with brands, distributors, retailers, and that has allowed me to grow my reach. So I get access to so many more products and brands because of it. And I'll share profits, but because of that, I get access to tons of brands.
Awesome, yeah. So he's got a very different approach like he's talking about there. So I'm super excited to kind of break all this stuff down with you guys, right? So let's go back to like kind of square one, right? So most people watching this video, they're trying to get those first sales, right? Maybe they want to do that $1 million a month, but we obviously can't start there, right? That'd be awesome. But so how did you like make those first sales? You mentioned a little bit of used books, like. And is it still the best way to kind of get going on Amazon?
Yeah, so back then I was selling used Apple products, used textbooks, and I was selling my friends' textbooks. I went to college, started selling everybody's textbooks, and my thing there was like, dude, the textbook store is going to give you pennies on the dollar.
I did the exact same thing.
Dude.
I didn't know you did that.
Let me pay you more for it, because the only way anybody's going to sell to you is like if they're making more money. You know how friends can be where it's like, oh, I don't know, like, are you making money off of me? So for a while, I was just selling used textbooks from that. And yeah, if you're getting started, I 100% say you should start small scale, used books, walk into a Walmart, walk into retail stores. And that's how I got started. So after that, it was very small. And because of that, I didn't really care. I got to a point where I'd make a couple $100s a month. I knew it worked. And from that, I just decided that, oh, I see a different avenue with this business. So transitioned.
That's awesome. Yeah. Another cool thing that I actually learned about you last night that you're leaving out of the story, right? Like you actually had a little bit of a side gig going on in the 2011 to 2020 range. Like what were you up to there? Do you think that helped you with Amazon at all?
For sure. There's a reason why Amazon was the side hustle, and I was always trying to make it to the NFL. So I played football growing up. I played in high school. I played Division I football and got the chance to go pro. I went to camp with the Detroit Lions, was there for a couple weeks. Got cut, played in Canada, there's a league there, played in Japan. So this whole time, that was my hustle, and Amazon was the side thing, you know? And because of that, I couldn't have a real job. And that's honestly what drew me to the business model too, you know, that time, location, freedom of location, and I never wanted to be locked down to one place.
Yeah, you probably didn't want to play for the Lions during those years anyway, to be real. Those would have been some rough years.
Oh, yeah, I can't lie to you, the check would have been nice back then, but yeah.
That's awesome, yeah. So kind of just doing it on the side, that type of thing. You come back from Japan, and what's those first things you start to really get serious about? You jumping right into wholesale? Like what was that process like?
Yeah, so I already had a little bit of background experience with Amazon over the past years, but never with wholesale and never working directly with brands.
Yeah.
So it was funny, I kind of fell into this opportunity. I was able to partner with a distributor, and I was their e-commerce guy.
Ooh,
they did nothing online, and a lot of people ask this, like, why don't brands just sell themselves or distributors do it themselves? Like, people don't understand how complex Amazon is. Yeah. And it's not their forte. So like let people like us buy and resell and find where, you know, we can find profit instead of them.
Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to reaching out to these brands, like, you know, I've heard it a million times doing those calls. If people are watching, they've tried to do anything like that, they're calling. The first thing they hear is, "Sorry, no Amazon sellers, buy." Like, 100%. What's your approach? Like, how are you standing out and kind of, you know, adding value to these companies?
Yeah, I would say first is your best suppliers will always start out as a no, or just not a yes right away. Yeah. Like if you're finding a wholesaler or distributor on Google and you call them and they open the account and you get the price sheet, it's probably not that profitable because how many people have contacted them already?
It's too easy,
Yeah. So where I found success was, oh wait, why no more Amazon? And then I'd find the pain point of that company and see how I could provide value.
Awesome, yeah. Yeah, and another thing within that, like maybe you agree with this, but something I hear a lot is that wholesale takes a long time to set up, right? So how are you like staying motivated? How are you like in those early days? Like, what was that growth like? Was it really slow for a while and it takes off, or what was that like for you?
Yeah, so I had proof of concept from reselling, so
Yeah.
I knew it worked. For me, I was doing a lot of FBM.
Yeah.
And then COVID came around, and it was honestly perfect timing. So FBA kind of shut down for a few weeks. My FBM would continue to sell. And from that, it was just, let's keep trying something new. Let's do something different. And working with more brands, I'd get Sorry No or Amazon sellers. Every product on Amazon has a shelf life, or how many times you can sell it. I've just seen it extends the longer the shelf life and cycle of that product for if you're working directly with the brand.
Right, yeah. So do you only work directly with brands, or are you working with distributors, and how does that work?
I still do a little bit with distributors, but I'm probably 90-10 brand direct right
awesome.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, so within that, is it a couple really valuable relationships, or you're building a big big team, big system, tons of brands? Like what does that operation look like for you?
So my exclusives that I work direct with, I probably have 15 to 20 brands.
Okay.
But I've been able to get access to a lot of brands through distributors. So because of that, you open one distributor, they could have hundreds of brands.
Right.
So people think you need all these connections and suppliers with wholesale. Like you could have 1, 2, 3 guys and do $1 million a month. It just depends on the supplier.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When you're going out and having those conversations, you mentioned it's like you're going to get those. No, we don't sell to Amazon sellers. What are you doing to get over that initial hurdle? What are you offering, especially with brand direct model? Like it's not as simple as, hey, distributor, you want 300 of this? What's the price? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Like what would you suggest to someone who's wanting to get into brand direct, just to kind of
if you're just getting into it, I'd say target small to mid-sized brands.
Okay.
So when I say brand direct, that doesn't mean call Colgate or Dove and ask them to be direct and how you can provide value. Like it's just not going to work. If you target a company that's doing $10,000 to $50,000 in revenue and their listings are horrible, maybe you can add a little value. And if you take a company from 10 to 20K in revenue, just 2x their business.
They love you.
Yeah,
That's
great. It's not huge in the scale of Amazon. Most of the time we're targeting large brands that are in demand, but for some of them, there's golden nuggets in those little guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so in that process, you're starting to make those first couple connections, that type of thing. Do you remember having any like light bulb moment where you start to reach out to brands? It's like, oh crap, like this is legit. Like, because obviously, like $1 million a month from you're probably doing a couple thousand when you get serious about it. Like, when was that light bulb moment?
So I had one partner. It took a while for me to open the account with, and it was a no Amazon sellers sort of deal. But I wanted to see what their partnership was like with their current guy. And the eye-opening there was I got to see like the agency approach. So what are they doing for you? Where's the value? And then I'd see where they were lacking and say, actually I'll buy inventory instead of just manage it, or I'll spend our own dollars on advertising instead of managing their budget. So just trying to find a way to differentiate.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for people who are, they're wanting to, brand direct is a very scalable, is that a sellable asset too? Is that kind of part of why you do that as well?
Me personally, no. I'm not really looking to exit this business, but you can. Like if you lock down exclusive contracts with suppliers, you can exit your position, in that company. But ideally, I'd like to build this up as a cash flow asset and kind of outsource the day-to-day work that I still, I'm pretty involved in.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when it comes to reaching out to suppliers and stuff, like when does it make sense for someone to, sell used books or, buy from websites, that type of stuff, and then make the leap to brand direct? Like what would you say to that seller who's maybe making a little bit of sales?
Yeah, so I'd say keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
With arbitrage as well. Like arbitrage is great for beginners and getting started. It's really hard once you want to scale.
Sure.
But you shouldn't just stop what you're doing. It's just like, now let's start contacting brands or contacting suppliers, or what arbitrage products am I selling now? Is there a distributor that carries that? So I've seen that everything is connected. Brands, distributors, retailers. It's just where you can insert yourself into the supply chain, and the closer you get to the brand, the better.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and people who usually watch the channel, you're pretty familiar with arbitrage, and you're actually a little bit of an arbitrage hater. So like, what are your thoughts behind that? Like when is it a terrible idea for someone to do arbitrage?
I think if they want to build a real business, you don't do arbitrage.
Okay.
Just personally, it's just so much like hunting. And my thing with that, it's like with brand direct, I have to hunt once, and then I can have it for a while. With arbitrage, you're consistently hunting. So it's just like the hustle. You're always hustling.
Yeah, you definitely got to build some systems out of it. If you're the guy who's
need systems.
Lone wolf arbitrage for forever, I totally agree with you. I think you can build a legit business out of it.
Yeah.
You've done
a great job because you have buyers in place. You have people who are doing A to Z. But for the guy who's sitting there on the website, he spends an hour and then his order's canceled. It's like, bro, oh my goodness. I did arbitrage for a couple months just to kind of see.
Yeah.
You totally can make money doing arbitrage, but for scaling and like longevity, it's just not it.
Yeah. Do you remember, maybe you're not allowed to say or something like that, do you remember one of those like first brand direct products you had that was like, all right, this is cool, like I'm starting to see the progress here?
Yeah, so one of my largest brand directs was the first one I got. It's like a swimming product.
Okay, cool.
It's in the swim niche. And that was somebody where I got them, I was able to provide good value, and now the brand owner is totally on board with referring me to another partner, because there's networks, brands network amongst each other, distributors network amongst each other.
Which is weird, because you'd think they're like competitors, but they all know each other.
Yeah. So for me, it was just like the proof of concept. I have one good brand. Okay, now I need to find more like this.
Yeah. Something that I've done a little bit of wholesale, and like you're just like leveraging names and like, hey, I talked to Jack over at XYZ. And they're like, oh, Jack, what's up, man? Like, you want to like let's make some money together. So once you make that first connection, like it does get a lot easier.
It's all relationship based, which is why I enjoy that model. Arbitrage is a lot more transactional, especially because it's buy sell. And from a brand's perspective, there's not a huge value add there, in my opinion. With wholesale and brand direct exclusively, what we're doing, the value add is let me create a new product for you. Let me create a new listing or create a bundle listing, stuff like that. So I like to find opportunity and then help them, get more sales. It's like you need somebody helping you on Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I think a lot of people like talk about with wholesale. Is like, oh, make new listings and do PPC. And it's like, how? And they're like, I don't know, and they're not actually doing it, right? So like, what does that process look like for you? So you want to work with a new brand, they're like, yeah, that'd be great. Can you help us sell this product that's not on Amazon yet? Like, can you walk me through the step-by-step there?
Yeah, so just to backtrack a second, I'm an arbitrage hater, but I'm also a little bit of a wholesale hater too.
Okay.
So stuff like Dove and Colgate, and you just see all these sponsored ads for Samsung, like nobody's calling Samsung an opening account. You're wasting your time. So with brand direct, it's like, let's go for, it's still wholesale and buying at wholesale price, but I'm targeting these brands that nobody's heard of. I could tell you my best brand, none of your viewers know it, so it doesn't matter. In terms of the brand direct though, so what was your question on that one?
Just like, can you walk us through like, I always hear about like making listings and that type of stuff, but like, what is brand registry involved there? Like, because I'm actually curious myself, like what is that process?
Brand has to be brand registered, and every brand should be brand registered on Amazon. So that's when you get extra access to more images. They can have a storefront. So I'll contact a brand that maybe isn't brand registered.
They probably don't even know that. It's like, hey, you can have more pictures.
And, some other wholesaler created it. So the step is get them brand registered, have authenticity of product and authorization so that they know, sure, that's the guy, he's good to go, create listings for us. And from there, I just ask for a UPC code from my vendor. So let's say I'm gonna launch a 2-pack, or I'm gonna launch a bundle. They'll send me the UPC code, they send me a folder of their marketing materials, and then my team on our side will just create the listing, and it's pretty fair, straightforward process.
Sweet. And you're just doing that, let us buy inventory, or are they paying you for that service, or how does that work?
So I do like a partner method, which is a little bit different than agencies. So with agencies, most agencies, they're either gonna take a commission off the top, they're gonna manage your ad budget, and after a while, it's like there might not even be that much value. Sure, they created the listings for you, but like, what's the ongoing fulfillment that they're giving the brand? With brand direct and what we're doing, we're buying in bulk every single time we have product, so I have skin in the game. They know that I have skin in the game, and I'm not going to charge them a storage fee, so now they get to use my warehouse. When if they're using a 3PL, that could be thousands and thousands a month. And then I also will invest in advertising. So if I see potential with a brand, I'll spend on Amazon PPC, and that's just a selling point I can tell them,
Yeah. So I would assume in that case you're negotiating like pretty good pricing for the privilege of you doing all that other kind of stuff, right?
There's different ways. What I've found best is I'll spend my dollars. If you guys are on board, like give me a credit on the invoice. I spent $5,000 last month on ads. Do you want to go half on it? Do you want to just credit the whole thing? That's been best because for the supplier, they don't have to pay me out of pocket.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome because that's one of those things that a lot of the wholesale guys will be like, oh, just make a listing. And they don't actually know how to do it. They've never done it before.
Keywords that they're saying, like hot words. It's like, dude, okay, but who are you doing this for? Have you ever done it? You know?
Exactly.
So brand direct is getting bigger though, for sure.
Okay.
And I think a lot of wholesalers will move that way just because of how Amazon is with authenticity of product, with invoicing, all that. That's a huge downside in wholesale space. It's like you could buy from a legit distributor and the invoice doesn't work.
Yeah.
Now you're screwed. So brand direct, if I have an issue, I will contact my brand.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll get it solved.
Yeah, that's probably a good question for a lot of people watching as well. Like they're buying from liquidators or distributors, and they're wanting to get into brand direct, that type of thing. Like, how does someone know when that supplier is legit? Like,
yeah. So number one, you could pretty much tell on Google. Like if you Google them and they have a massive warehouse and they're nationwide, they're probably legit.
Sometimes you look it up and it's like somebody's house. It's like, I don't know about that.
They have no website, that's a red flag. No commercial address, that's a red flag. Like we're at ASD trade show right now. You could walk through the trade show and see, okay, that guy's probably legit. That guy I would never buy from. They might have the same products.
Yeah.
But it's all about who the supplier is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's another kind of, would you say that's like one of the bigger issues with like the wholesale model versus the brand direct model right now is kind of authenticity and stuff?
Yeah, authenticity. I think there's a lower barrier of entry with wholesale because there's so many liquidators and closeout guys that want to sell their product.
Yeah.
And it might be profitable products. So then guys get into that space and they're buying and reselling and sure, it's profitable and then you get hit with a Section 3 and you're screwed. So that's why with wholesale, you can already tell it's like, it's either going to be you should stick with arbitrage because the invoicing is going to be proper.
They've seen Target before.
Yeah,
they've
I'm
seen,
pretty sure they know who Walmart is.
Yeah.
You know? They don't know who. I don't even want to drop distributors' names, but there's some bad distributors out there, man. And I got my account shut down last year because of buying from a distributor that was faulty. We didn't vet them well enough. And after that, it was mind-opening. It was like, I need to just double down on brand direct.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on Twitter. I think I even shot you a message because I had dealt with the same thing. Yeah. So, can we get into that a little bit? Like, that's a big fear for a lot of people. Like, how did you get through that account suspension? Like, were you actually in the wrong? Like, how did that all work out?
So that's the thing. You get a complaint. If your supplier won't help you out and their invoice doesn't pass, then it's almost like a losing battle.
Sure.
So I can't prove to Amazon that it's authentic. I was able to get it cleared. It took like 7 months afterwards.
Dang, okay.
I actually have multiple.
Were you shut down for 7 months?
I was shut down on my main account. We were doing $1 million a month on that account.
Okay.
But I had like brand direct stuff on there. I even had arbitrage stuff on there. I was doing wholesale, and so I'm like, it was dumb looking back at it, but able to get it fixed and all that. So just learning experiences,
Sweet. Was it just, continuing to upload documents and calling Amazon?
Dude, I mean, you know how seller support is,
right,
bro. It's like $3 an hour employee. It's horrific. But I also have employees that I pay to do all the Seller Central sort of deal.
Awesome.
So it was like, okay, we're going to upload our case every single day.
Yeah.
And so for like 6 months, we were and we'd get denied. And then the next day, we'd do it again or try to change something. So after a while, we just opened the account or reactivated. They're probably like, this guy's so annoying.
That was that's probably the best day, like one of the best days of your life right there.
Yeah, that was a tough 6-7 months right there.
Yeah, we were shut down last year for like 4 or 5 weeks, and that was enough for me. I'm like, man, like this is a lot of inventory.
So stressful,
and you had the warehouse and the inventory and all that kind of stuff. So did that encourage you to diversify into new platforms or anything like that? Like, what is that looking like for you?
So I've been diversifying a little bit. I always sold on Walmart. I'm interested in TikTok Shop. Obviously, that's going to be high, especially for brand direct stuff. A lot of people will say, sorry, no more Amazon sellers. Not that many brands and suppliers are going to say no Walmart, no TikTok.
Exactly.
But if you can figure it out or you're early there, like that could be a huge opportunity.
Yeah. And then you get in and like, oh, they're legit. Hey, do you want to try Amazon?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. So that's even for me. I've seen a hack can be, oh, sorry, no more Amazon. Well, what about Amazon Canada?
Yeah.
Can I sell there?
Yeah.
And sure, you could sell there, and some products sell well there. And if they get rolling, then they'll give you.
You start building a relationship. It's like, all right, we like Jonah. Jonah's cool. Let's give him some money.
Once you're spending money with the supplier, like they're gonna like you.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. So, what would you say is the difference between your business at the $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month mark to $1 million a month? Like, what made that jump for you?
We definitely started focusing on team way more.
Okay.
Like I did everything from the beginning.
Yeah,
we just had
you
product in
have
our
to. Like, that's-
garage. You know how it is, dude. I'm
Yeah.
prepping, I'm packing, I'm doing the shipments, and I was just straight grinding for that. Like even up until 100K a month, and then after that. One of our cleaners actually is a funny story. One of our cleaners during COVID is like, "What are you guys doing here?" Like, and she wanted more work. We're like, "Ding!" Like maybe you can put the label on.
Do you
this.
want to label things?
I maybe shouldn't label stuff.
Yeah.
So that was eye-opening. We outsourced prep, got like 5 employees now full-time in the warehouse, and it's allowed me to then focus on like supplier relationships.
You can actually make the big money plays. You're not just putting stickers on things, right?
Yeah. The owners should not be in the prep center warehouse grinding out. You know?
Yeah. So when does it make sense for somebody to, looking back, when would you have done it if you could start over to start outsourcing things? Because doing it too early is dangerous. Doing it too late, you're burning out. You're going slower.
Maybe you should do a few FBA shipments yourself just to learn the process. You use Boxem. It's an easy, simple, platform. I'm using it for one of our retail stores right now too. And honestly, I'm a big fan. So start doing a few yourself, but then after that, you should outsource prep ASAP.
Yeah. As far as like sourcing and that type of stuff, admin work, I assume you've got a lot of people doing that as well, or are you doing all the sourcing and stuff?
No, I don't do a ton of sourcing anymore. I'm honestly not even doing a ton of outreach anymore.
Awesome.
So now a lot of it is it's a very dialed approach if I'm going to contact somebody. When you're getting started in wholesale, it's definitely a numbers game. You're going to have to call 100 brands, 100 distributors. After a while, you have your guys, you have your niche. Now I find opportunities, and it's very like, okay, I might contact 10 people.
Yeah, how are you picking who to reach out to?
I use Smart Scout, a tool for that. Cool. So I'll just filter by monthly revenue for brands.
Cool.
So I filter by monthly revenue, I'll filter by category, and so for me, I'm a big proponent of niche. I think you should find a niche and double down in that niche. And using tools like that, I then can find brands that kind of fit our category, and then I can contact them.
Okay, yeah. So you're just looking, who's doing weight, who has maybe a little too many third-party sellers that might want some help, and
they have one image on their listing.
Right.
That's a green light. I should ask them if they want to.
They're doing like 100K a month on like a terrible listing. It's like you guys know you can like
gold mine.
be
There's
rich,
so many
right? Like
golden nuggets. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to, you mentioned like choosing a niche as well. Like, how did you choose your niche, and like how should somebody go about that?
So I kind of fell into my niche. I was working directly with one brand, and it went well.
Cool.
So in the sporting goods category. And from that, I realized, I have a background in sporting goods and sports and all that. I can make a connection there.
You know the lingo.
I know the lingo. I can talk. So for me, that was just like finding my one niche and then continuing to expand from that.
Gotcha. Yeah. So do you say the same for somebody else? Like personal interest, just kind of use what you know to figure out. Yeah.
Personal interest or just personal connections. So a lot of times with wholesale, it might be somebody in your backyard.
Yeah.
So you have an opportunity that I don't if the supplier's down your street. So my email, they're getting hundreds of emails.
Yeah.
They're not getting hundreds of people walking up to their door saying, hey, can I open a wholesale account with you? And that's just the relationship part of it. So
that's not weird. You roll up and try to build a relationship.
You could call them first to set up a meeting. But if they're not picking up,
let me in.
Pull up. Well, think about it too. Like with our business,
you got $10,000 in your hands.
Yeah,
like,
we're giving them money, dude. It's like, you don't want my money? Somebody's gonna take it.
That's awesome. So obviously you've been scaling aggressively on Amazon. What's the most you've made in a month or a year selling on Amazon?
Yeah, so I have partners in this business. I split profits. Cool. We're doing good revenue right now, and our margin's pretty decent.
Sweet.
This year will be the most.
Hell yeah. Yeah. That's what you want to see. Yeah.
So give me a number. Okay, it'll be a couple 100,000.
Okay, that's not too bad, right?
For selling products online, and honestly, the amount of time I put into the business now is nowhere near what it used to be. And that's my favorite part about Amazon. It's like so much front-end work that once you get rolling, everything compounds and you actually work less and make more.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people fail is they get in, it's like, oh, I'm not rich after a month. I'm not rich after 2 months. Yeah, and it's like, all right, I'll quit it. This doesn't work. It's a scam.
So that's why it depends on the person too. Like if your goal is not to make a couple $100,000 a year, you just want to make $500 a month, then sure, walk into your local retail stores and scan products. You should. If your goal is to make $500, like don't go into wholesale.
Right. Yeah.
You're gonna waste so much time up front. Like, dude, you just want quick wins.
Yeah.
Keep turning your cash.
Yeah, so we're talking about wins. What's been like one of the biggest losses you've taken selling on Amazon?
Oh, dude. Yeah, I've got a few. So I lost.
I saw like the traumatic memories going up in there.
Yeah, well, even the deactivation, like that loss alone. So if you want to return a product from Amazon, it's like $1 per unit to remove it.
Yeah, so you have to get it
so
all.
So our account is being shut down. I have hundreds of thousands. Like I don't even know how many units we had in there, but the warehouse was just stacked. Like that alone, plus missed revenue, was hundreds of thousands of dollars lost. I've had just one-off losses too. Like I probably lost $20,000 selling Girl Scout cookies. It's a funny story actually. So we bought from them in like 2021, and the reason was they were so overstocked, and we had a connection to where they just wanted to liquidate through their stuff. I bought and resold a few times. It was going well. My last buy, we went big. Something happened with the listings. I'm sitting on cookies. It's melting. Huge loss.
So you're the worst Girl Scout ever.
I'm the worst Girl Scout ever. People hated me too. They're like, this guy's scalping Girl Scout cookies. It's like supply and demand.
You could have started pulling the red wagon door to door. Do what you got to do.
No, I know. Yeah, I won't do that again. But it was a loss that we paid for sure.
Sure. Yeah. What's been one of the biggest regrets you've had about selling on Amazon?
I would honestly say not being transparent up front. You know, there's this thing, especially in the wholesale space, where people will try to go behind, you know, a distributor's back or behind a brand's back. I had brands that I was selling, and like I were explaining, they were a perfect fit. Like, you know, horrible listings. But I was that guy who's like, I'm not just going to bring it up to them at all, so I never did. And then, you know, a year later, it's like, sorry, we're going exclusive with this guy. We have to cut off everybody. But like maybe if I brought it up a year ago, I could be that guy.
Yeah.
So just not being transparent enough up front.
Okay. So you'd say it's best practice to always say, hey, we're an Amazon seller. Here's what we want to do for you on Amazon. Like
no. So like in the first conversations, Amazon sellers should not come up.
That's a cuss word in that first conversation.
So like I'll say distributor. Cool. I'll say anything along those lines. I'm an e-commerce retailer.
Yeah.
We sell on Amazon. Like it's the largest platform in the world.
You're putting a top hat and a monocle on the word Amazon seller.
Yeah, exactly. And then if they say no, or there's a negative connotation with that, it's, well, why? Do you already have somebody doing it? Did they have a bad experience in the past? Because every single brand should be on Amazon.
Right. Yeah. There's no reason. So yeah, it's kind of getting them over their PTSD, working with Amazon sellers and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what would you say is the best way for someone to to get serious about brand direct wholesale, that type of thing? And who is it best for, right? So we talked about it's maybe not right for beginners. Like where should someone be at, and what are those first steps?
So you can be a beginner and get a brand direct deal, because like I said, it could just be a personal connection.
Yeah,
maybe your cousin is the brand owner of somebody, or a distributor sales rep here, and if you have a connection, then 100% jump into it. If you don't, then I'd say you get to the point where you have your either arbitrage business or your wholesale, that's the quick cash flow, and your brand direct is like the long-term play. So you can always start and get into it. But I'd say as soon as possible, at least start calling brands to see what that conversation's like. Because the more you have that conversation, you'll see it's not that scary.
Yeah. That first one is always going to suck,
yeah.
like no matter what. Yeah, I remember making my first wholesale calls. I'm like, what am I saying? Like, what is going on here?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I always started with like bottom of the barrel distributors. Like I don't actually care if I work with these guys. Just get my reps in, and you work your way up. Would you say that's a good approach? Like coming to trade shows and that type of stuff for landing legit distributors?
Even if they're not legit, it's having the conversation face to face with someone. Because if they're getting, I've done door-to-door sales. I've done sales in person. Like when you get declined and denied in person, 1, it hurts, 2, it hurts less, 10, it hurts less. Like after 100, you don't even have, like, if it was a win or a loss, there's no difference. And then that translates into making calls, into emails back and forth. So just having conversations, for sure you should go to trade shows.
Yeah. One thing that I think is cool about distribution and brand direct and all that type of stuff is like, generally, it's not really anyone's like passion to be moving products around. So it's very like, hey, this is what we need. Here's what we need. Let's see if we can make something work. Like, it's not as scary as people think. Like you're not trying to cure cancer or anything. You're just moving products around.
It's very simple, and it's very simple to actually add value to. Like when you see a brand that could use help, even just the very small things of fixing a listing right there, it's like that is the value add.
Yeah. So when it comes to brand direct wholesale distribution, who's the type of person you see succeeding really often?
Somebody who's not afraid to have a conversation. Like a lot of times, people in sales backgrounds do well in brand direct. People who are experienced with any type of relationship with a supplier or vendor or anything like that, it can't be the keyboard warriors, which I see a lot of arbitrage guys doing too. Which that's why I say you just have to know what you want to do up front. If you don't want to be the guy who has to call a supplier and then they tell you to piss off, and that's going to ruin your day, like you shouldn't do it. But if you're fine, you know, you brute force, you're going to call 100 brands. Like if you're calling 100 brands, you will land somebody.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's part of why I've stuck with arbitrage for a while. Is I like building systems and pulling it over on like some of these big companies, and it's just fun to me.
Yeah, you have a different goal, right? So you have other things going on. You have a lot going on. I don't want to have to be calling suppliers like, and then I'm getting declined, and then it's ruining my day. Like if that's gonna affect it, I wouldn't even get into wholesale. Yeah,
exactly. So when you were starting to scale the business, like you mentioned you have a warehouse and a bunch of team and that type of stuff, like when did you make that jump to the warehouse? Is that a requirement for wholesale?
Yeah, so one of my partners, best friend from high school, middle school, growing up, all of the product was in our house. So it was like, 2020, end of 2020 was like when the business was really starting to grow. And it was a great opportunity because a brand we were talking with was like, wow, you guys are doing this all from your house? I actually have a warehouse that like I don't use that much of. Like, you want to sublease it?
That's a good hookup right there.
Yeah, so that it started out, we just shared a warehouse with one of our brands. And that's how I earned them. I was like, let me do everything for you guys.
Ooh,
You're already having to pay to ship the product somewhere else. That guy sucks anyways. He's not doing anything. So I'd say you don't have to go warehouse at all. Like you can go prep center from day one.
Sure.
You know, but there's a lot of benefits for us at least having a warehouse.
Yeah. Can you do brand direct wholesale out of a prep center?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Corey does it. I know Kaj does it. A lot of guys will do it. So.
What is the benefit like selling, you know, low selling price items, that type of stuff? Is that the primary of having a warehouse?
Partially, and at scale it gets cheaper for sure.
Yeah.
So like at scale, you know, once you're doing a certain volume, you should look at what your prep bill is too.
Right.
And if you have a massive prep bill, you could have a cheap warehouse and a couple, depends where you are, but hourly employees, and you'll be saving money.
that majorally adds up once you start hitting. Yeah. I've had some like $10,000 prep bills before. It's like, is this making sense still? Like,
and some people don't want to deal with the warehouse.
Exactly.
Like when I started, we built it from the ground up. So like I'm there every single day. One of my partners is there every single day. Like that's not what a lot of people.
Is that something that you enjoy, just kind of being in the fray?
I like going there now. I'm not there often at all, but like even just going back to see and talk to the team and feel out like, oh, we should do this differently, or we should move this over there. So like optimizing our warehouse, I find a lot of enjoyment in. And the benefit of having the warehouse, and I could say, hey, yes, we have a warehouse here. So then I look more legit.
Yeah, that's very true. Have you looked into, I know a lot of people talk about like opening a retail store or anything like that. Like have you touched it on that at all?
So I realized back in 2020, a lot of brands would say, sorry, no more Amazon sellers unless you have a brick and mortar retail store. So for a long time I was like, we need to open a retail store. And have a little dinker store, like put our own sign
You don't actually sell anything, it's just there.
Like by appointment only. Like I don't even have anybody there. But instead, I decided to partner with retail stores.
Okay, cool.
So I have a couple retail stores I partner with. I'm able to leverage them to get access to more brands, and then I don't have to worry about another location.
That's nice, yeah. So as far as building those relationships, are you cutting them on the deal? Are you paying them monthly? Like
so I used to take commission. I've taken commission in the past. Now I'll even just split profits. So like 50-50 split.
Damn, okay. That's a no-brainer for those. Yeah, that's a major no-brainer for those retail stores then.
Right. So it's very similar to retail arbitrage, but one of my first brands first retail stores was somebody who's close to me, a personal connection. And I was like, you guys should sell online. Like, you know, we got our thing going on.
Right.
And then I went in the store and just started scanning stuff. And I listed FBM. And we made some sales. I'm like, dude, we're making sales. Let me see your supplier list. I'll place an order. So then it was just getting access to more sheets and growing from there.
That's cool. Yeah, I've done like talking to like gym owners and that type of stuff, and you know, 2020 doing some wholesale with like supplement brands. Like, I do a gym. It's like 99% is going through Amazon.
I know. Well, it's part of it too. It's just the sales rep has somebody above them. You know, they have a set criteria of rules. So it doesn't. You know.
I don't know if it was the same for you, but I've done a couple like that. It's like, you know, you have to do this. I don't care if you do Amazon, but like, show me a retailer. Like, partnership of some kind. They're like,
exactly.
And then I get my commission. We're good.
Yeah, there's loops for sure.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, it's relationships,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
and how much you're going to press them on it. Sorry, no more Amazon sellers on a website will scare away 95% of people.
Yep.
Like how many are going to see that, call the brand, and still try to get access to an account?
When you see that, you should see dollar signs.
Yeah.
No more Amazon sellers means no more dummies.
Yeah,
but
they probably have a few guys. And if you can find just a piece of value where you can add to them, or like, and even if they say no, like what you can do is do a Loom video, 5 minutes. Hey guys, like I'm Jonah with Primary Toe Solution. I want to do this, this, and that for you guys. And even at the very minimum, they get value from the video. You
Exactly. Yeah. So obviously, tons of great insights there. So, what is the biggest mistake you see? Maybe even not even just with the Amazon industry. What is the biggest mistake that new entrepreneurs are making?
You've heard it before, but shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
You know, like that shiny object syndrome is a real thing, and it happens at every level of entrepreneurship. So like you could be making millions of dollars a month, a year. There's still an opportunity that might grab your attention. You know, so that just gets harder and harder to look away from. But if you can focus up and dial in on your thing and you stick to it, that's when you find success.
Yep.
I think a lot of people, especially in our space, you know, they're looking for quick ways to make money online and all that. With Amazon, you just have to be able to lock in for a year. Like I truly believe if you hammer whatever model you're doing for a year straight, you will find success. And that goes with any business model. Pretty
much anything works. It's just if you want to put that year into it.
Except for drop shipping. Not that one.
And apparently arbitrage for you, right?
It depends. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time, Jonah. If you guys watch and want to go check out Jonah, maybe shoot you a question, drop a follow, that type of stuff, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at JonahHodges_.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll get that link down below as well, so you guys go check that out. Go show Jonah some love there. Really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you did get value, feel free to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can also drop a comment if you have any questions. Always happy to answer those. If they're over my head, I might bring in Jonah here if you have some brand direct questions. But yeah, hopefully you guys got a ton of value out of this video. Really appreciate you watching. I will see you next time.
Yes, sir.